Hi everybody, welcome back. We've been talking about it all show long. It's going to be a great weekend, but more importantly, we're going to hone in now on a conversation with one of the most anticipated artists at this year's Women's Red Rock Music Festival. She's here from Los Angeles. She hails from a few different places, but we have San Diego in common, so that's always one that's going to be close to my heart. It is my pleasure to welcome to the program for the first time, Trishes. Hi, how are you?
Good.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. It's always a treat for us when we get California people, and in this case, I know even though LA isn't your longtime home, but
I'm definitely a California girl, for sure. I love California.
And talk a little bit about, for folks who may not be familiar with you, and we always enjoy the opportunity to introduce new artists to our audience. Talk a little bit about your background and tell us about the passion for music thing that, of course, we all love music, but it's a journey from a listener to a practitioner to then deciding to make your life in music.
Right. I started singing when I was really young. I think I just really liked attention. I was the youngest of a lot of cousins.
Yes.
So I would put on little shows and I would make my cousins be my background dancers. And then I started playing piano when I was 12. And I went to a music high school and a music college. And then after college, I started getting into looping and vocal effects and different synths and stuff like that.
So you were a Berklee student, is that right?
Yeah.
One of the great music schools in the entire world, and especially from the standpoint of, I love music, I want to make it my life, I want to make it my profession, and I understand that a lot of your coursework really kind of set you up and prepared you to be ready to hit the ground running as far as not just being an artist, but also importantly being a business person who's the CEO of your own gig.
Right. I double majored in songwriting and music business, so I think that was helpful. But yeah, Berklee was an incredible experience. It was just being around a bunch of people who were
super motivated people.
Just like, music. Yeah, and just talented and driven, and it changed my life for sure.
And I would imagine that being around that intense group of really motivated people who, right, I mean, by definition, I mean, you have to have a certain pretty high level of talent to even be able to be admitted to a place like Berklee. Did that help you, being in that kind of environment, did that help you maybe sort of see like, well, who I want to be or what I want to be and maybe what I don't, just in terms of the kind of people and the kind of, everybody comes from different genres and different attitudes toward music?
Definitely. I think a lot of what I do now, I kind of picked up from different people along the way, and my songwriting definitely developed through not only my teachers but my peers. So it shaped my music a lot.
Let's talk a little bit about the way in which you make music, because as we discussed a little bit before, in some ways, looping and what you're doing, kind of the live construction of using some things that you've brought with you, so to speak, samples or patches or that kind of thing, but blending that with the live performance. It feels like we're, especially right now in the year 2017, like we're at a really cool, exciting phase of the development of this kind of music where it's almost not a genre anymore. No one would call you a DJ, and yet a lot of the ways in which you create what you do has commonalities across the entire spectrum of musical genres.
Right. I love combining everything. I love my equipment. I'm a really big gear nerd. Yeah. It just allows me to create in a really different way, and I think I have sort of an anxious personality that like loops things, and I feel like that is why I enjoy it so much. I mentally think in loops, not only in music but in lots of aspects of life, so it came pretty naturally as a form of expression. And I think you get so many different sounds. It can take your mind into different places, which is nice.
And I really like that the ability to sort of record on the fly, aka looping, and the way that you're doing it, you create some sounds that aren't sort of like super identifiable. It's like, it's like we hear your vocals being layered and that sort of thing, but it doesn't necessarily sound just like vocals. There's almost a symphonic or maybe a keyboard-esque kind of sound to it. That, again, the fresh and newness of that and being able to do that in real time is really cool and really exciting. Now, I understand that with this new record, you're maybe going in a different direction. Is that stylistic, or as far as your writing goes, or what's happening? Where are you at with this new upcoming record?
This upcoming record very much will represent what I do live and what we do live as a band. It's a little fuller than that, but it is focused on humanity and what makes us human in a very tangible sense. So a lot of the things we're performing now have to do with our relationship to our primal self. Trishes is essentially the Freudian constructs of self, the id, ego, and superego, the primal self, the conscious self, and the spiritual self. So right now what we're honing in on is the ego, the human self, and how do we represent that in a really tangible way. So that's what the album's going to be about. And
is this part of it's kind of a longer storytelling arc that you already have constructed, it sounds like?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell us about the future installments?
Well, we're planning on putting out a couple of albums, and then my greatest piece, I think, is the id piece that will focus on the primal self, which is a part of myself that I really connect to, and that will be a full-length album. But first we're kind of exploring the id space, and then at some point in the future we'll explore more of that superego spiritual space. But kind of my early 20s, I had a lot of internal struggle and really tapped into that primal self and the relationship between the conscious and primal self. And now I'm in a place where I'm very intrigued by duality and just how humanity can be so ugly and so beautiful. So that's where we're kind of at right now.
And what a fortunate thing to be able to have a big brain that you've been using to work at songwriting so that you can express these things in a way that I'm sure must be, without, not capital T, but therapeutic in a lot of ways.
100%. That's the reason I created Trishes, was to express this internal struggle. That's the reason I use the loops to express these different voices. I use the vocal effects to give each voice a timbre and a real space in reality. Like, yeah.
Very cool. Well, we're fans. We're grateful that you're here. I hope you have a fantastic time this weekend, and we'll certainly be following along very closely with your career from here on out.
Thank you.
And I guess the last thing we got to do is social media to make sure that you get everything out there so folks can follow along.
Yeah, I'm on all of the things. It's all Trishes Music, so it's Trishes, like fishes. Trishes Music. That's my Twitter, my Instagram, my Facebook, my YouTube. It's all Trishes Music. Or you can just go to trishes.com. So it's Trishes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Safe travels, and we'll hope to see you again. And you're going to come back and play another tune.
We are.
Fantastic. Trishes.com. Go there, follow this artist. We're very fortunate to have her here in the studio. And more to that point, we're going to take a break, and there will be more Trishes for you, because I love you. We'll be right back.